Hello everyone, and good afternoon from Istanbul. So it's been a while since I made my last video. Things have been very busy. I've been trying to get everything settled as far as living here is concerned. But it's been a good time. Been eating some fun things. I tried some fried liver, which is very popular here. It's actually apparently very popular in the southern regions, especially in a city called Adana, where it's eaten as sort of a breakfast, especially a hangover food. Eating liver in the morning after you've drunk a lot kind of makes sense, you know. You just beat up your own liver, so why don't you take in someone else's, I guess. A couple other things, but the big food news is that it's now Ramadan, or what is called in Turkey Ramazan. So a large percentage of the population is fasting during the day, and they eat their last meal at about 3 or 4 a.m. before going to prayers. And then they break their fast with a meal called iftar at the end of the day, around sunset, so about 8:30 nowadays. I'll be going with a friend to iftar this evening to see what it's like, and it's a very interesting time because it emphasizes charity and things like that. The idea is that iftar is shared, and it's not just among Muslims. So a lot of the homeless people in the city get a chance to have hot, warm, home-cooked meals and things like that, and there's a general sense of community as well. And then the whole season ends with a feast at the very end. I think it's called Bayram in Turkish, and it's filled with very certain traditional foods, and hopefully I'll be able to do a short video on that once I've learned more. I'm still doing research. In the meantime, I wanted to show you guys this cool thing that I found at the markets the other day. So in Turkey, there's a big tradition of eating unripe fruit. Probably the best known is erik, or yeşil erik, and erik are plums. But yeşil erik are actually green gages. They're sort of like an unripe plum, but it's more like, so if a plum that you normally see, the plum that we're used to seeing, the purple ones, are like a gala apple, the green gauge is sort of like a Granny Smith. So it starts out rock hard and sour, and then as it gets later in the season, they get a little bit sweeter, but still stay pretty like fresh and crispy. However, you can also find unripe almonds and some other fruits. But yesterday, I found these beautiful alien-looking things. These are unripe pears. They're absolutely magnificent. They're just a really beautiful food. I don't know how good an angle that is, but I stopped mostly because of the way they look. They look really incredible, and it's pretty easy to tell that these are pears, but kind of extraordinary that you would decide to eat an unripe pear. And these are actually unripe pears as far as I can tell. I don't know if they're a certain kind that is grown for this reason or just some that were picked before they're ripe. People also use green figs here. That was another thing I wanted to say, but mostly for preserves. So you'll see women on street corners selling them, generally peeled early in spring. I just missed the season, but you get the peeled figs and then you candy them or preserve them or what have you. But these guys, you can just, which one is ideal for that? This one, the first one I showed you, you can just take a bite out of. Of course, they have seeds in the middle, and you don't want to get to that like kind of bitter seeds in the middle, but you can just eat around it. As the salesman was very kind to show me last night. And it tastes actually quite sweet for this little green nugget. It's got that wonderful, refreshing pear taste, a hint of sweetness. It's not bitter at all. It's a slightly drier texture than you might find in a ripe pear, not as juicy, but still quite good. And unripe pears, of course, there's plenty you can do with them. Even pears, like larger unripe pears that you find in the States, you can cook them. If you cook them in a syrup or in wine or things like that, with some spices, you can cook them for quite a long time. And even if the pear itself was not sweet to begin with, you can make quite a nice dessert out of them, because pears have a really luscious texture when they've cooked for a very long time. So if you're interested in that, look up some recipes. Speaking of which, in the coming weeks, I hope to try out maybe a couple recipes and some videos. But for now, thank you, and happy digesting.